Voyager Digital just came out and reported the long-awaited March data. This is things like assets under management, net deposits, new funded accounts, etc. And in this video, boy oh boy, do we have a lot to cover about Voyager. Here's a quick rundown. First, we're going to go through exactly what they just reported, the highlights, my thoughts on that. Next, we're going to go through just generally some assumptions, as they did not release exactly what their revenue was for the month of March, but given some data, we can figure that out pretty easily. Then we'll go through, comparisons, how these numbers compare to my original projections that I made around 2 weeks ago. And then lastly, we're going to go through what is Voyager's current valuation? Is it fair value, or is it fairly valued, undervalued, overvalued, and how does it compare to other companies? So if you enjoy this type of video, make sure to hit the like button. If you are new here, make sure to subscribe, and let's get into it, guys. When we get into this, guys, first thing we see, assets under management are now at $2.4 billion. This is up from the $1.7 billion in assets under management, or customer assets, that Voyager had just 1 month ago. So, we're seeing massive growth at Voyager. When we look at assets under management, the company does say that longer term, they expect this number, or rather their revenue, to be around 10 to 12% of total assets under management. So the more this number grows, the more revenue we get essentially for Voyager. So seeing that huge month-over-month growth is absolutely incredible and makes me very excited about the opportunity here with this company. When we look at total funded accounts, we're now at over 270,000 total funded accounts. We continue to see more growth at Voyager when it comes to, more people downloading the app and joining the platform. I mean, just a couple weeks ago, we had Voyager, I believe it was in like the number 4th or number 5th spot on the top charts in the App Store for all finance apps, above Robinhood, above Coinbase. The demand they were seeing just in that time frame is, in my opinion, responsible for a lot of this growth. We see total verified users on the platform now at over 1 million users. So, we've seen a massive influx in growth for Voyager. I think they have a phenomenal platform that distinguishes themselves from the Coinbases or the Robinhoods of the world. But, we're seeing phenomenal growth here. I am really excited about this earnings report. Let's see what Steve Ehrlich had to say, the CEO. March was another record-setting month for Voyager, as our retail-focused zero-commission platform continued to attract an active community for both Bitcoin and our industry-leading offering of over 50 altcoins. Again, that differentiation with just offering so many different coins that no other platform has. All our significant revenue-driving metrics increased in excess of 35% during the month of March from the previous month. Guys, we're seeing exponential growth here at Voyager. When you see 35% growth, you usually picture, all right, year over year, right? They grew 35% this year. This is phenomenal growth. Voyager just grew 35%, or at least 35% across the board on all their metrics, month over month. This is what makes this company so exciting, guys. As demand continues to accelerate for the Voyager platform, we are enhancing our infrastructure to meet the swiftly growing demand and accommodate anticipated future growth as we expand our suite of offerings in the coming years. Now, currently Voyager has brought back the waitlist. This is, generally just having to wait about a week or two before you can fund your account and actually use the Voyager app. Although this is, slowing down growth at Voyager for the time being, they've dropped to around like 30th, 35th in the App Store now because of this waitlist. But we saw what happened right when they got rid of that waitlist just a few weeks ago. Voyager jumped to 5th place in all of the finance apps on the App Store. So, eventually they'll build this infrastructure out. They'll be able to prepare themselves for this massive growth. They'll get rid of the waitlist and we'll be back to that, absolutely massive growth. But the fact that they've had a waitlist for almost half of March and still managed to grow this significantly when it comes to assets under management, when it comes to new users, is very, very exciting, guys. When we look at what he continues to say here, our management team is focused on the long-term opportunity to capture significant market share within this rapidly expanding industry. The initiatives we are embarking on, such as adding new products to our platform and further geographic expansion, are designed to competitively position Voyager for long-term success. We will continue to execute on these initiatives and look forward to providing our investors another update on our next quarterly conference call. So we got a few things to talk about here, guys. First thing, generally just touching on the rapidly expanding market of cryptocurrencies. We see how many people, are getting into cryptos. Even just now, more and more people are entering the crypto market, and one of the best ways to do that is by downloading the Voyager app, buying Bitcoin commission-free, and earning interest on those tokens, which makes Voyager a really attracting, a business, or rather a service for a customer out there. When we look at new product launches, Voyager has, credit cards coming out, debit cards coming out. Eventually they'll start doing margin. They're planning on, releasing a stock trading side of their business within the next 12 to 18 months here. There's so many different ways that Voyager can go with their platform, not just with cryptocurrencies, but just overall expanding their platform into a variety of different things, right? So that's one of the things he touched on. Then he also talked about geographic expansion. They're doing all of this growth within the United States currently. Eventually, within the next couple months, we'll be expanding into Canada. In the back half of the year, we'll be in Europe. So just opening up a huge, extra total addressable market for Voyager to grow and continue growing their business over the coming years. Even if this was just a business that's located in the US, I think the opportunity there alone is massive. But, add on to that Canada, add on to that all of Europe, and you have an incredibly large total addressable market. The company also announced that going forwards, it expects to provide updates for key operating metrics on a quarterly basis. Voyager believes this is consistent with the industry best practices and will more closely align with the company's long-term focus. The company expects to provide its next financial and operational update to investors on its next quarterly conference call, expected to occur in late May. Now, up until this moment, Voyager has been releasing this data every single month, right? So for January data, we got that right at the beginning of February. For February data, we got that right at the beginning of March. For March data, we got it right at the beginning of April. But now they're saying, all right, we're going to be more long-term focused, and instead of giving this data every single month, we're just going to give it out on a quarterly basis with our entire quarterly report. Now, although this gives me less to talk about and less to think about in Voyager in the short term, it doesn't really change anything fundamentally with the business, but it does make predicting, things such as, this quarter's report or next quarter's report a little more difficult. But, it's still the same business that's growing in a massive, massive way. But they're changing that up. Now, they also touched on their next conference call, which is expected to occur in late May. So we've got about a month and a half before we get, exactly what revenue was for the month of March, what revenue was total, what, profits, new business opportunities, just generally things about that business. We have to wait till late May for that. But, if you are new here, make sure to subscribe, as I will keep you updated on everything that's happening in regards to Voyager. Then they talk about some investor conferences that they're going to be a part of. I'll link this article in the description down below. You can actually click on these and actually sign up, where Steve Ehrlich actually hops onto a webcast and just generally talks about the business and things along those lines. I recommend, tuning into at least one of these, as they are pretty informative. Now, other than that, that's pretty much it. But, one thing that's really missing here, just generally with all of this data, is preliminary revenue. Up until now, Voyager has been saying, all right, we did $8 million in revenue in January. We did $20 million in revenue in February. In March, they didn't report anything. So, let's try and fill in the blanks here as to, where revenue could be positioned at for the month of March. Here, I filled in the blanks. Ignore the yellow for now. Net deposits at $650 million. We're seeing that accelerating growth when it comes to deposits month over month. Assets under management also growing by a very significant amount. New funded accounts, they grew that by 95,000 this month as compared to 70,000 in the prior month, continuing to accelerate that growth. And same goes for new verified users. Now, when it comes to principal value traded, this is where we can really take these numbers and translate them pretty directly to actual revenue. Since, one of the main ways that Voyager does make money is through, every single trade. They make 0.5% or 0.75% of the total trade value. So, they give us a number for principal value traded, and that gives us a pretty good idea of where revenue should be at. Principal value traded for the month of February was $1.6 billion. Preliminary revenue for that time was right around 20 million. This number increased 56.25% month over month to $2.5 billion for the month of March. Why is this important? These numbers generally are pretty, in line with each other, meaning that if a principal value traded increases by, 56.5%, preliminary revenue should, generally speaking, increase by at least that same amount. So given this principle, this 56.25% increase in principal value traded should translate to 56.25% increase month over month in revenue, meaning that my prediction for revenue for the month of March is right around $31.25 million. Now, is this for certain? No, it is not. But in my opinion, this is pretty in line with what my thoughts are and what my thoughts were just generally for Voyager to do. And I don't really see them doing anything under $30 million for the month of March, given the growth they experienced. One more interesting point that I want to point out for you guys here. When we look at assets under management, generally speaking, assets under management have been growing faster than net deposits. Why is this? Because Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, other coins have been growing in value at a significant pace, right? So when assets under management were right around $750 million for the month of January, we had $400 million in net deposits in February. So, 750 million plus 400 million should equal, 1.15 billion, right? But we had $1.7 billion in assets under management. Why is this? Because Bitcoin increased by 30 to 40% in that month. What's interesting about March is that Bitcoin actually stayed pretty flat, which is why we saw assets under management go up by pretty much the same amount as net deposits. If we had Bitcoin increase by 10, 20, 30, 40% in this month, assets under management would easily be over $3 billion. But this is the first kind of month here over the past half year where Bitcoin's actually stayed pretty stagnant. And obviously we saw a bit of, a deceleration of assets under management in compared to just generally net deposits. That's something interesting that I wanted to point out. Hopefully that's not too confusing. Now, one thing that I do want to touch on before we keep going here is how close, my original projections were to the March data here. So I had preliminary revenue sitting right around 31.4 million compared to, just generally what I'm thinking now given these numbers, right around that $31 million range. Net deposits I had right around 630 million. They came in better at 650 million. Assets under management, right around 2.65 billion is what I originally projected. We got 2.4 billion, but assets under management is actually pretty reliant on the price of Bitcoin, which I expected to drift up throughout the month of March, and we actually had it stabilize. So if Bitcoin did increase in value over that month, we would have reached that $2.65 billion range, but it didn't. That's fine. We still got a pretty good amount of assets under management, throughout the month. Trades per day, I have this sitting right around 110,000, in my projections. I think this will hit 110,000. We don't know that, and we probably won't know that until at least the May report. We'll see when that comes out. But, generally these numbers are pretty in line with each other. So, given this 56% growth, we should see 110,000 trades per day. New funded accounts, they absolutely blew it out of the water when it comes to new funded accounts and new verified accounts. Given their spot on the top charts in the App Store, I think that was a big catalyst for them to continue growing throughout the month here. And, we'll see. It all depends on how quickly they can get rid of this wait list. I was right on line with principal value traded at around $2.5 billion. So I just want to touch on this one more time. If you are new here, make sure to subscribe. I'm going to be giving out my, just general predictions on this quarter's results and how that compares to analyst results within the coming weeks here, just to get a better sense of what Voyager will be reporting around a month and a half from today. Now, next thing that I want to focus on is current valuation. Now, the stock did drop after this earnings report. I'm not surprised, to be completely honest. The stock has been on an absolute tear over the past couple of weeks, past couple of months, and past year. So, it needs a breather, and that's completely fine. What we want to look at is today's valuation. Currently, the share price is at around $27.40. There are 170 million shares outstanding, fully diluted at this company, which gives us a current market cap of right around $4.65 billion. Now, if we expect Voyager to do 31.4 million in revenue For the month of March, which in my opinion is, pretty dang realistic. I don't see them doing under 30 million, but let's say they do that. That gives us a yearly revenue run rate of $376.8 million. Meaning that if we divide the current market cap by the current yearly revenue run rate, we get a price to sales ratio of 12.4. This company is growing at a massive clip, 35% month over month, not year over year, month over month. They have a very profitable business, margins sitting right around 70 to 80%. They're in the cryptocurrency market, which is absolutely booming right now. A lot of these companies are trading at just crazy multiples. You got a company like Coinbase expected to IPO at a 20, 30, 40 price to sales ratio. And here we have Voyager sitting at a 12.4 price to sales. They have an incredible management team, an incredible platform, and an incredible balance sheet with over $150 million sitting in cash and minimal debt. So given this, I think a 20 price to sales ratio is warranted for Voyager. So in the next couple of months here, I could very well see this share price go up to $40, $45, potentially $50 without any fundamental improvements with the business. Now, that is my opinion. I think a 20 price to sales ratio is fair. A 12.4 is a bargain in my opinion. And this is one of the reasons why I'm not selling Voyager, despite this massive run up that we've had in share price over the past a couple months here. But just generally speaking, I think we're due for a bit of a consolidation period. I think it's very healthy for us long-term investors to see the share price actually, take a breather and, just let it chill for a little. The rocket doesn't go straight up. It's got to take little breaks every once in a while. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. Let me know in the comment section down below any thoughts on Voyager, thoughts on this report, and just generally what you're thinking and doing with Voyager. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.